My friend from Kansas, Ms. Davids, recognized for questions.
Thank you. Thank you to Chairman Garrett Graves and to Ranking Member Cohen for this hearing today. And thank you also to Chairman Sam Graves and Ranking Member Larson for their leadership on passing a common sense bipartisan reauthorization of the Federal Aviation Administration in the House last year. Mr. Whitaker, welcome to the Aviation Subcommittee, and thank you for taking the time to be here. I do believe your experience and leadership will be invaluable at the FAA. I would like you to address an issue that's affecting the National Airspace System, which is aging infrastructure and functional obsolescence. The failure of the FAA's NOTAM system in January of 2023 highlights the risk to the flying public when aging, safety-critical aviation infrastructure isn't replaced in a timely way. And sadly, the FAA now operates and maintains one of the oldest collections of safety-critical aviation infrastructure in the world. One such system in the NAS desperately in need of replacement is ILS, or Instrument Landing Systems. There's a map up there. I've got one here. This ILS map demonstrates just how many 1970s era Mark 1F systems are in operation in the NAS. The FAA has more than 1,200 ILS systems located at hundreds of airports across the country. The ILS is the only system approved by FAA to support all-weather landings at the nation's busiest airports. As such, these systems are required to remain in operation for the foreseeable future. However, the vast majority of these safety-critical systems were placed into service in the 1970s and 80s and are now functionally obsolete. In Kansas alone, 17 of the 21 systems, which is 81%, are functionally obsolete. This body passed the bipartisan infrastructure law more than 2 years ago with a set-aside of $5 billion to replace these aging systems. But the FAA told industry leaders and members of this committee that modernization of these systems wasn't an eligible expense under the program. Then Aviation Chairman Larson and I subsequently engaged in a colloquy on the floor on December 9th of 2021, which is shown here, expressing congressional intent that this was in fact an eligible expense. This colloquy was shared with US DOT again on August 17th, 2022, when Mr. Larson and I noticed that there was no money directed in the fiscal year 2023 FAA spend plan for replacement of these systems. We asked for a timeline and budget detailing specific allocation of IIJA resources to landing and navigational aids equipment for fiscal years 22 through 26, which you can see here. The response we received, which is up now, contained none of the information that we asked for. In follow-up conversations with FAA, we have yet to receive a satisfactory response as to why the acquisition and modernization of these systems has lagged. In fact, several taxpayer-funded instrument landing systems, there's 14 of them, are sitting in a cave in Independence, Missouri, simply waiting to be installed. At the FAA's current pace of modernization, which is about 4 to 5 systems per year, it would take more than 100 years to replace these systems. This means that FAA expects many of these safety-critical systems to be in operation despite being over 100 years old. I can't imagine that's actually the expectation. And just so we're clear what system failure looks like, the most likely impact on these airports is on capacity, on throughput, and delays. When an ILS is out, runways can't be used for all-weather operations. But there's also this inherent safety risk should a system fail in the middle of landing operations. So, Mr. Whitaker, what's the FAA's schedule for deploying these devices system-wide? And as you might be aware, the professional aviation safety specialists have proposed a pilot program for deploying these systems within 18 months. And I'm curious if, to your knowledge, is the FAA considering that proposal?
Thank you for the question. You've hit on a very interesting issue at the FAA, which is how we fund facilities, equipment, and particularly we're in a situation now where we have a lot of redundant systems in the NAS and facilities. We have facilities that need to be replaced as well. With respect to this particular issue, my understanding is that infrastructure funding is available for deployment of those ILS systems, specifically the ones that you mentioned that are in storage. So my understanding is that will be deployed. Those funds will be used to begin deploying those systems.
Do you have a timeline?
I can certainly respond to your office with some specifics on the timelines.
Okay. I would very much like a specific response given the length of time that this has been going on. The bipartisan infrastructure bill gave us a 5-year timeline, and we're over 2 years in.
Yep.
I yield back.
Thank you.